Okay, in this video, we're going to do a lot of translations here. We've got 2 sine, 2x minus pi over 2, and then we're going to add 2 at the very, very end. So it's in this format here. This is a generic format here. Okay, so what we want to do first is we want to look at what our amplitude is. Okay, this is the A. And it's going to be the absolute value of A. So here it is just 2, meaning instead of going up 1 in our regular sign here, we're going to go up 2. There we go. All right, and our period or 1 cycle is always our 2 pi over B. So in this case, our B here is 2. So this just equals 2 pi over 2, or just pi. Okay, so there we go. We got our amplitude and our period. So instead of going from 0 to 2 over pi, our thing is only going to go from 0 to pi. Okay. But then this right here is telling me I'm going to have a phase shift. In other words, I'm going to move my whole graph here over. So how much do we have to move over? Well, let's see. The phase shift is always C over B. So in this case, my C is pi over 2, and my B is 2. So my phase shift is going to be pi over 4. 2 times 2 is 4. So there we go. My phase shift, instead of starting at 0, I'm going to start here at pi over 4. So that's going to change the dynamic of my 5 points, right? So my first 5 point that I'm going to start off is going to be at pi over 4. To figure out my next point, we notice I have pi is how much 1 cycle is, and I want to still, so I'm starting here at pi over 4, I still want 4 more points. So I want that pi distance divided by 4. So what's pi divided by 4? Just pi over 4. So my next point is just going to be pi over 4 plus pi over 4. So I'm going to add pi over 4 for each point so that you end up with a distance from pi over 4 as pi. So pi over 4 plus pi over 4 is 2 pi over 4, or just pi over 2. But since we're adding fractions here for my third point, I'm going to leave it in the format over 4 so I don't have to keep changing pi over 2. So I have 2 pi over 4. I'm going to go ahead and continue to add pi over 4. So this is 3 pi over 4. So I have 3 points now. Now my fourth point is going to be at, my x value is going to be at 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 4, which equals 4 pi over 4, or just pi. And one more point, and we're just going to take our pi, or 4 pi over 4, plus one more pi over 4 at 5 pi over 4. So those are all of my x values. Now what about the y values? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite these so that we have them all in a pair over here. So we're going to go from pi over 4 to, where do we go next? Pi over 4 to pi pi over 2 to 3 pi over 4. And you'll see why in a minute why I'm rewriting these, so we have room here. And then I'm going to go to pi, and then my last one is 5 pi over 4. Now, with no translations, I would normally go with just a phase shift. We would go to 0, 1, 0, -1, and 0 at these places. But because I'm doing other things to it, like my amplitude, if you remember my amplitude, instead of going up to 1, I'm going to need to go up to 2. So we're going to go ahead and change. So this is a y value with no change. This y value is going to change when we have an amplitude of 2. So I'm just going to multiply each of these answers, 0, 1, by 2. So we know how high we have to go here. And then at our very last phase shift, we needed to, so we multiplied this by 2. And then at the very last thing that I needed to do was, I believe we wanted to add 2, our D up here, if we go back up here. That was our D. So we need to add 2 here to all of these questions. So 0 plus 2 is 2, 2 plus 2 is 4, 2, 0 here, and 2 here. Yeah. What do I think? Okay, we're just going to go ahead and regraph this. So we're just going to graph all these. So pi over 4, and I think I'm going to need to go higher here so I can get to 4. So we're just going to go ahead and graph these points. We're going to go pi over 4 is going to be up at 2. And then at pi over 2, we're going to go all the way up to 4. No, that's kind of off my charts. We'll just go right there. And then my 3 pi over 4 is at 2. So we're going to come back down. And then my pi is at 0. And then my 3 pi over 2 is back up here. I think I'm going to make my 4 a little bit higher than this. Make it more realistic. We'll say my 4, yeah, that's much better, it's way up there. So now this is what our graph looks like. Comes up here, down, ooh, like that. Very sharp turns there because of that, and that is our new graph. So notice we moved it over from 0 over to pi over 4. Instead of it being spread out all the way to 2 pi, we smooshed it in here to only go normally from 0 to pi, but we shifted it over to pi over 4, so we're a little bit over there, over one little spot there. So that is our new graph. Okay, guys, I will see you in the next video.